So your name is what? So your name is Ms. Pandalove. Is that how I respond to you? Okay, we can do a test. Awesome. Do you want to go ahead and put in the chat a question that you want to for me to address? I haven't done this before on a live, so it is very new for me. So it's not new for me to be in front of the webcam, but it is new for me to do a live. I've done Zoom, a lot of Zooms over the years, and and I'm really happy to see you. On relaxation, absolutely, I can do some videos on relaxation. There's a really good practice in this book that can help you. I'm going to recommend it right now. It's called the Open Focus Brain, and it really teaches you how to slow your brain waves down into what we call alpha and theta states, and that really helps relax you. And I'm sure that you want to know about um, how to relax the body, but that's the first thing how to do. It's basically a form of meditation, so I'll be happy to do something with you on that. Thanks for asking. Actually, I'm thinking about doing a book study on that particular book, The Open Focus Brain, and maybe that's something you would like to participate in. In about 10 minutes before we go live, and if there was a way I knew how to like exit and then come back, I would. So, is there a thing about the holidays that you're thinking about that you want me to address? Hey, Una, good to see you. Can you hear me okay? Good. I'm so happy to see you, that you're here. One of my favorite people of all time. We're going to be talking about the holidays. And you know how that can be. I know how it can be for me. Here in the States, we have our Thanksgiving, and apparently it can have a show up different ways. I want us to show up how we can be more loving between now and New Year's. A lot going on. So we've got two people, and I'm happy about that. It's 8 o'clock, and I love to start on time. And I know that I have at least one other person showing up. And this is my first live that I've ever done on YouTube. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that everything is going to be working out. Yes, we start. Yes, we're insane here in the United States. We start a whole month before you. But here's your practice. So, Ms. Panda Love, Una lives in England, and it's about 6 hours ahead of us. And I've been on her podcast, and I've known Una, what, since 2018? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I welcome you to this live stream. I'm hoping that we're only going to be here for, hey, good morning, Min. I'm so happy you're here. Is that how I pronounce your name, Min? I thought it was going to be a two-way street, but no, it is not a two-way street. We are going to be chatting back and we're going to be chatting here. I'm going to be talking. So thank you for being my thank you for being my guinea pigs for my first live on YouTube. And I'm expecting another person or two, but we can go ahead and get started. Min, do you want to ask a question, or any of you can ask questions that you want to have an answer for before so I can answer them for you. So you put them in the chat, whatever your question. Hey, Lisa, thank you for joining. You can hear me okay? I keep thinking this is a Zoom session, but this is a live stream with YouTube. So, okay, great. All right, so this is what we're going to talk about for today. I want to share with you a couple of stories, one particular story about how to handle the holidays as we move into them. And it's been a challenge already for some friends of mine, and I'm going to talk about some of the things that can happen and some of the things that we can do. If you have a question that you want me to address, please put it in the chat there below. I will address them. So I want to share this thing that happened with a friend of mine. She has a stepmom that she calls her mom, and she doesn't like her stepmom. Her stepmom has a tendency to be angry and takes over. And so what she wanted to do was bring her to, she invited her to Thanksgiving. And she set some certain rules down. And she said, well, if you're going to come to Thanksgiving with me, you have to bring cooked food, already cooked. I don't have room. And you're going to come on Wednesday because I'm not available on Tuesday. And so her stepmom decided that she was going to bring food on Tuesday to cook in her own. And my friend was like, no, we've talked about this for a month. And so what she did was set some boundaries. She says, I cannot have you on Tuesday. And her stepmom said, well, I'm coming Tuesday anyway. And she says, well, I'm not going to be here on Tuesday. Well, I'll get a room, she said. I'll get a room, and I'll stay near you so I can be there Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Well, you're welcome to do that. And she says, and I'm going to bring all my food to cook. She says, we already talked about this. And so she kept going and going and going. Her stepmom kept telling her what she was going to do, even though my friend said, no, you can't do, I don't have room. And so what happened was she stayed firm with her boundaries. I don't have room for cooking. We have too many people. We have a lot of people here. You need to bring the cooked food. So her stepmom said, okay, then I'm not going to show up. And that's what happens with boundaries. That if people don't like what you're going to do, what you need to do for yourself, they are going to do their own thing, like maybe take their marbles and go home because she's doing this because it works for her. She's invited her family over, and this is the situation. This is what has to happen, and so that is one of the things that happens when you create boundaries with people. Some people will honor them, and some people won't, and you have to be okay with that. Now, one of the things my friend Lisa had asked about is about uh, prior to this conversation. What happens is that we have a tendency, Lisa, I don't even know how to say this. Sometimes when we gather with people, we especially around the holidays, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of need for perfection. There's a lot of stuff going on with people. And and then there are all these the history with people, right? Like this person does this person acts like this in a situation, and we want to control them, and we want everybody to be happy, and not everybody is going to be happy. So the thing that I want you to do during the holidays is to first center yourself, get connected, do a prayer, do a meditation prior to entering into the world of this love season. And that's what it is. It is a love season. But you are the center of the love. So you are the one who has to get centered first and filled with appreciation and gratitude for everyone and everything and everyone. Have at the top of your mind that everyone is doing the best they can with what they have. And we all go unconscious. 95% of the time we're unconscious because we got to think about what we got to do here and what we got to do there and who's going to be happy. Oh, it's crazy. However, if you get centered first, you fill yourself with gratitude first. You sit with that feeling of love and maintain it. That's your goal, is to maintain that love. It can be a challenging practice. I know for me it is because I will get triggered. Like somebody will say something really rude and I'm like, or they'll say something that will will start. I'm thinking about a particular instance when I said something and somebody said something else and I got triggered, but I kept my mouth shut because that's another important thing you can do is when you get triggered, you feel yourself close. I know I do. And sometimes people can't hear what I have to say, and I know that. So the first thing is get centered, get love, get grateful, and know that you want to have a good time. There's this great song I was playing this morning. Today's a good day to have a good day, and just be happy. Choose to be happy. And when you see yourself fall from grace, or when you see yourself like, just get back to that moment where you're the one in control of yourself. You're the one who's managing your emotions. And go back to that moment. Oh, yeah, I can do this. I can be happy. And not let other people take your serenity and your happiness away. And that is the work. It's the work of, this is me. I'm being happy today. I'm being serene. And then somebody will do something stupid that you take personally, that you don't have to take personally, or you want people to be a certain way when you know they are no other way but that. And it's really, that's your work, is how to be loving, in gratitude, having a good time, and not giving up your emotional sobriety or your serenity because of someone else's behavior. You can always have tools of the things like just keeping your mouth shut, go back to your heart. If something is difficult, you can walk away. You do not have to comment on everything, and no one typically wants your opinion. They might want to hear your story, how you're doing. Share something really positive and uplifting for that person, and don't be gloating about your successes. It's it what can be perceived as gloating. Be careful of your self-righteousness. Be careful. The self-righteousness is like you're better than somebody else. I have a tendency that I can come off that way. It's not my intention, but I can come off. And be as humble as you can. You know, um, it's it's for the divine, looking for the God in the other person for me, and being okay and just being present. And the one thing that people know, the one thing that people need more than anything is your attention, your validation, and your presence. They don't need your judgment. They don't need your condemnation. They don't need you to tell them what they need to be doing. It's more about being with people and enjoying them for who they are. Because there's not one of us who is perfect, and there's not one of us who has all the answers. Don't go in there trying to fix people. Be helpful, but don't try to. And what I mean by fixing people, by giving them advice when they didn't ask for it. I'm giving you these tools that work for me because um, I have been humbled so much by my own experiences of life and how I show up with people. And really, all people want to do is be heard, be listened to, and be loved. And in order for that to happen, you have to get you centered first. You're going to determine that you're loved, that you are in gratitude, that you get to be with people who love you. And your job is to be present, be happy because it's a good day to have a good day, not create conflict. If there is conflict, to diffuse it, you can just validate the other person, you can mirror back to them, and you can appreciate them, love them, listen to them, and be a light for them. And that's how we change the world. Show up differently than you usually do. Do you remember that scene in Seinfeld where George Costanza was on opposite day and he did everything opposite than what he's used to being? So he was always putting somebody down. So he decided to lift people up. He was always late. He decided to be on time. So show up as the best version of yourself when you go to whatever Thanksgiving or whatever event that you're going to. When you're shopping, even if somebody takes your parking place, and your practice is to be as loving as you can. Yes, people are going to irritate you, but it's not that big of a deal in the big scheme of things. Is the world as we know it going to end because you're not getting your way? No, it isn't. Nothing is that important. Ask yourself, how important is it if somebody spills gravy on your jacket? It's just a thing, and you just say, "Oh, it's funny. It happened." So those are the tools that I have for you. Do you have any questions for me before we go on? I'm sorry this isn't a two-way thing. I might have to do something else in order for us to have a conversation. Put it in the chat if you have another question that you're dealing with that you want some help with. Questions? Great. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you. So did you take your notes? I take notes. I'm gonna put this back up. I think if I find a way how to put this back up, I will. Go ahead, Lisa. What's the question? Yeah, acceptance of what is. And you're dealing with a lot of, okay. Go ahead. Lisa has another question about preparing yourselves ahead of time. So that's called, men, that's called mental rehearsal. And you know how a lot of people show up in the world, um, and how you show up in the world. So you know that Uncle Jim is going to be drunk. You know he's going to always show up that way. That's your history of Uncle Jim. And he can be really nasty and ugly with people. You already know that. I'm just giving you an example, and I don't know an Uncle Jim. And so when you know that that person is going to be that way, you do not have to engage. You don't have to talk to them. You don't have to talk about them. You don't have to do anything. Just ignore. That's all you've got to do. And excuse yourself if it's too much for you. So you know that Uncle Jim is this way, Aunt Mary is this way, cousin Adele is this way. You know how they are, and you know what your interactions are with them. You know when you say this, they do that. You know it already. So how can you show up differently in a loving way? And it's got to be so different. And you practice that before the Thanksgiving dinner, before the holidays. You know that Aunt Mildred is going to be constantly asking you questions about your life that you don't want to answer, because that's what she's done in the past. So what are you going to do? And you're going to say, well, thank you for asking. I don't feel like talking about it now. That's one thing you can do to practice how you are going to respond to somebody when they say unloving things to you, because you have a history with them, right? So that is a technique that you can use. Mental rehearsal, who you are going to be, who you are choosing to be with people that irritate the hell out of you. And the first, again, you just go back into your heart and know that everybody is struggling. Nobody is alone in this. Um, they remember what I do not. How do I deal with total different recall from my own? And it's lonely. So, Lisa, are you saying are you saying that if they have a different recollection from yours, they remember it differently, and it's lonely when you're that when you remember it differently? Is that what you're saying? And put that in so I can come back to it. So, uh, Ms. Panda Love, I'm going to tell you about resentment. I can carry and hold on to resentment for a really long time, and it is very unloving to me, and it's very unloving to you. And what resentment means is that we're marking where we are a victim. Um, and at least I'll get right back to you. So, what resentment is that we expect people to be different than they really are, and then we hold a resentment when they do something that's really mean and hurtful. So, and it is a letting go process. It's a letting go process of resentment, and to do that, you have to focus your attention on something else, 100% someplace else. Place your attention on your heart. This is what I do. And if I'm ruminating about it, it's really unloving to me. And I'll do a separate session with you on that, Miss Panda Love. Miss Panda Love, if you can, I'm going to put my email address in here, and you can send me a question, and we can talk about it later. Okay. All right. Okay, so when people are drinking, Lisa, they are not going. It's not going to be a pretty sight. You know, when people are drinking, especially at the holidays, and they're remembering things that you don't remember, alcohol impacts the brain. It impacts memory. It impacts function. It impacts good judgment. And I don't. I. It's hard for me to be around drunk people, inebriated people. And I don't enjoy being with them. So what I have to do, yes, I know. So they don't mean to bully, but you feel bullied. I get it. Yeah, especially when you're the youngest one of all of them. And even though you've lived this great life, what I have found is when I feel unsafe, I revert to my childhood wounds and I revert to my childlike behavior. I revert to the 8-year old that got hurt. And it's just not a safe place for me. And that is the time where I have to comfort that little 8-year old inside of me or the 10-year old and excuse myself and not even participate. In Al Anon they talk about in Al Anon they talk about going into a cage with a bear in it or a tiger in it. That's what we're doing when we go into these places that are unloving and unsafe. And it is lonely when you're the one who is just trying to navigate your way around these people who use alcohol to deaden their feelings or to numb their feelings so that they can get through. And it's a really sad place to be, even if it is your family. And it's a really hard thing to navigate. I know because I've been there. And my whole job, when I go to a function, as you know, some of you know, I don't even go to my family functions anymore because they're so unsafe. And it's not good for me. And the only thing I can do, if I'm showing up sober and everybody else is drunk and I know that they're going to be inebriated, I need to be with as much love and gratitude as I can because I am there for family. I am not there to get love. You can't get love out of a stone when they're drinking. That's like crazy thinking to think that they're going to love and appreciate you when they are not in their right mind and they are going to say stupid shit because that's what people do when they're drinking. And it's not an easy thing. So it's to me it's kind of like, well, I can show up or I don't go. Those are the two options. If I show up, I've got to show up with love, with no expectations. I've got to show up with having love in my heart and gratitude that I'm with this family that I love, even though they're not there for me. I have to be there for me, and I have to take care of me, and I have to excuse myself. In my last function with my family, it was so insane that I disappeared for 17 hours in my room because I didn't want to handle, I didn't want to be around that incoherence, that chaos. And I was okay with it. And they were so drunk they didn't even realize I was gone. So, that's kind of what I do. It's like I remove myself when the crazy starts because it is crazy. I hope that answered and helped you with that. Like a group, yeah. Yes, Patty, that is exactly right. This is something I learned a couple years ago. When you give to get, when you give everything thinking you're going to get something from that, that's a transaction. And 9 times out of 10, we're going to be disappointed. We're going to be hurt. You know, oh, I gave them this and they didn't even give me a thank you. You didn't give out of love, you gave out of some different thing. And if you're expecting somebody to thank you when you gave from your heart, that wasn't giving from your heart. That was giving to get something back. I know it because I've done it my whole freaking life. And when I realize that if I'm expecting someone to appreciate me for everything I've done, I'm doing it for recognition, I'm doing it for approval, I'm doing it for attention. I have done, and when this came to me, I finally understood how I am the one who creates my own pain. I had a friend who gave his two children $350 tickets to some big concert. They didn't even thank him. And he was so upset because he did this great expensive thing for his kids and they didn't appreciate him. He didn't give from his heart. He wanted appreciation. He wanted to see the sacrifice. He wanted them to see the sacrifices that I made for you and you're not even thanking me. That is a speedway to um, resentment and disappointment. I know because I've done it my whole life. And so if I can't give from my heart, then I don't give. That's where I'm at right now. Yep, Una, it's about releasing expectations. And yes, in civilized societies, we want people to appreciate us. We want to we want people to thank us for what we've done. That's what civil people do, but not everybody sees life the same way we do. That's a recent revelation I had about myself. It's like I want people to see me as I am, I want people and expect them to behave the way I do, see things the way I do. And it is a really sobering and humbling experience when I realize that I have my own unique view, I have my own background, my own history, my own way I grew up, my own culture, my own religion, whatever I have, I see through that lens as you do. I expect people to behave themselves when they don't have a clue how to behave themselves. My family, they they are different for sure, and I limit my exposure to them because it's not loving to me. So Lisa says, whatever we know we need to review before holidays. Yep, you'll fill your cup before, after, and as much as possible in the moment with those cute little funny drunk people I love. And 17 hours. Yeah, I was really embarrassed. No, I wasn't embarrassed. It's what I needed to do, and I wasn't embarrassed about it. And there were so many people, they didn't really realize that I was gone. And I'm not that important in the family anyway. I don't make a, when I say I'm not that important, I don't make my presence like, I don't have to be the center of attention. And if I'm not the center of attention, we're all good. I'm just there to serve. I'm there to love. I'm there to help. And I'm going to tell you this, like this one experience that I had at my last family reunion. And we had this buffet style thing, and all the really good meat is up front for the and there's not a lot, and so I wanted the elderly, the people who struggled to get, I wanted them up front, and I asked the younger people to let the old people up front, and they just stood there like this. I mean, they were really rude, and I was like, what? And I decided in that moment that I couldn't be loving. It was really hard, so I just kept my mouth shut and just let it go, because that's how I was raised. You let the elderly go first, and then um, let the youngins in. But nope, that's not how they are. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to try and control the situation. And that is also another thing, is how I want you to look at how you try to control and manipulate people, and how I have been known in the past to control and manipulate by being very nice, or by yelling, or by shaming, or by being a victim, like, and so again, Lisa just did this wonderful review for us. We know how these people are going to be. We fill up our heart first. We practice how we're going to be with them before we go hands. So you already have it. You might even want to write it down. And I have a friend who just wrote this book. It's called The Shut the Fuck Up Method. Sorry the language. And in that book, it's all about just keeping your mouth shut. So when you have a reaction, when you feel it in your body, and your first thing to do is you want to go in there and control them. You want to give them a piece of your mind. You want to straighten out their thinking. You want to change what they want to say. You want them to do things a certain way, and you start screaming at them and yelling at them. But you spent this week practicing. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. I'm not going to say anything. And I'm going to do it with love. I'm not going to do it with resentment. I'm going to say, this is how they are. It's not how I want them to be, but this is how they are. That's acceptance. And you just keep your mouth shut and watch the dynamics change when you are in this mode. And it's going to be a very exciting thing for you to see you show up as a different person, because nothing changes and no one changes unless you change. And you're the one who has to determine how you're going to be in the world. How are you going to show up at this function? If you're going to show up inebriated, this isn't going to help you. If you're going to show up drinking with the rest of the people, this probably won't help you either. Because what happens when we start drinking or imbibing is that we lose our filter. And we'll say stupid shit. And people will start reacting. And people will, and then we start feeling like we're not being heard. And that's what happens with people drinking. So you have to determine who you are going to be and what your strategy is going to be for dealing with difficult people. At the beginning, it really is fun to see everybody, hug everybody. And as the night and the day wears on and you start seeing the crazy, that's when you have to take a break. Any other questions that you want, or anything you want me to address? So what I just want to review is, do your meditation before. Get in a state of gratitude. Don't think gratitude. Feel gratitude. Feel that love. Be grateful for everything that you have, that you're above, you know, I have a tendency to think gratitude, not to feel grateful. And to feel it, I have to experience it. I have to really work hard at it. I am so grateful in this. And here's another tool that I use, I would love for you to use. When you're feeling dysregulated, when you feel triggered, place your hand on your heart and say, in this moment, I am safe. And that helps me get into gratitude, because in this moment is all we really have. In this moment, I have a roof over my head. I have food in my stomach. I have my ability to pay my bills. I have family that loves me, even though they don't love me the way I want to be loved. I have friends who love me. And I can just look at all the things in my life and the people in my life who have loved and supported me. And if I can get into that state of gratitude, I can take that with me to my family and friends and just be humbled by the fact that I am alive and I can love these people. I'm not loving them to get love back. I am loving them because I love them. Period. And when they start acting up, I can set a boundary. I can say, excuse me. I don't need to scream at them. I don't need them to be a certain way. This is how they are. I can excuse myself and I can go talk to somebody else. I can do a lot of different things, but I don't want to lose my serenity. I am not going to give my power away to somebody who's being a jerk, and neither do you. And that's how I take care of myself in my situations, and I hope this has been helpful to you. So you just fill yourself up with love and gratitude. You show up as the best version of yourself, who you want to be. I want to be Martha Stewart. I want to be Cher. I want to be I want to be Madonna. I want to be Beyonce. I want to be Taylor Swift. I want to be the best version of me, the one who's kind and generous and loving. And if anybody else is in the way, well, see ya. But in a nice and loving way. And remember that my channel is all about finding those unconscious things about ourselves, those unconscious, unloving things about ourselves. And remember that 95% of our stuff is unconscious. So find those unloving parts of us, and how can I make it more loving? So there you go. Does anybody have anything else before we leave? I am so happy that you were with us. Thank you for joining me for these 30 so minutes. And I'll put this up if you want to take a look at it later. Thank you so much, everybody. Love you. And I'll find a way to do it. We can talk next time. Bye. Thank you, man. It's good to have you here with me. Thank you, Lisa. Oh, wow. Patty, I'm so sorry. Thank you, Patty, for sharing that. I'm so sorry that happened. I will encourage you to, we have these meetings, worldwide Al-Anon. If you're not a part of the Al-Anon or Adult Children of Alcoholics and dysfunctional families, there are meetings throughout the world. You can Google it and find it, and start attending meetings, and that will help you. And all of my readings that I do every day is centered around my recovery in Al-Anon and ACA. So I'm sending you love, and just email me with my stuff below, and I'll be happy to help you through it. Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and I'll answer them the best way I can. I love you.